Howdy howdy, my name is John, and this video is a review of the book I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. This book was published in 1950, and it contains 9 stories that were written in the 1940s, and then the final story was written in 1950. These stories are tied together by text that shows a reporter interviewing one of the main characters, who I'll talk about in a little bit. All of these stories are told as if the main character is telling them. These stories take place between the years 1998 and 2064. These stories follow 3 main characters. The character being interviewed is Dr. Susan Calvin. She was born in 1982, and she has a PhD in robopsychology. The other 2 main characters are Mike Donovan and Gregory Powell. They are 2 field engineers, and the stories revolve around cases where they had to diagnose and fix problems that the robots had in the environment in which they were used. Because these are separate short stories, it's not a single overarching narrative, and that can make it a little bit difficult to follow along. Because these are stories written in the 40s and 50s, and they're set in the 1990s and 2000s, it's interesting to see what Asimov got wrong concerning future technology. For a few examples, he refers to slide rules a couple of times. In a story set in 2015, photographs still have to be developed. What's really interesting is what he gets wrong about robots. The story set in 1998, robots cannot speak yet, but they're actually fairly advanced. What actually happened is that the robots weren't nearly as advanced in real life as they are in this story. However, toys that featured speech were actually fairly common starting in the late 80s and into the early 90s. I actually worked with a chip that could reproduce speech back in 1993. One other thing he gets wrong is the state of space travel. By the 2000s, late 2010s, humans have settlements on other planets, which of course didn't happen. What the irony is that our space travel has largely been taken over by robots. However, the point of these stories, and really the strong point of these stories, isn't the future technology that Asimov tries to predict. These are stories about humans, the robots they create, and then the difficulties writing rules that the robots follow. All of these stories has an instance where a robot malfunctions, and you watch whoever the main character is trying to diagnose the problem and then come up with a solution. And it's really this process of diagnostic and trial and error fixing these problems that's really the strong point of these stories. I really enjoyed these stories. I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. I've definitely read things that are better by Asimov, and as we get to the novels, we'll start to see his writing style improve. I do highly recommend reading this book prior to reading his Robot series. The first book of that series is Caves of Steel. If you're interested in the history of science fiction, Isaac Asimov is definitely one of the writers that you want to check out. And this is probably the first book of his that you should read. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.